A struggling single dad in a faded janitor's uniform bends down in the hallway to comfort a crying girl. He doesn't know anyone is watching. But the woman who sees him that night, the girl's billionaire mother, will change his life forever. Stay with me, because what happens next will leave you speechless. The school was emptying for the night, its long hallways echoing with the sound of lockers slamming shut. David Miller, a single father working as the school janitor, stayed behind with his mop and broom. His daughter, Lila, usually sat in a corner of the gym while he worked, doing homework under the flickering lights. David wasn't ashamed of his job, but he carried the heavy weight of his daughter's needs alone. Since his wife passed away 3 years ago, every dollar he earned went toward food, rent, and medicine for Lila's asthma. He wore the same faded uniform every day, but he wore it with pride, knowing he was doing his best. That night, as David pushed his cleaning cart down the east hallway, he heard muffled sobs. He turned the corner and found a young girl, maybe 10 years old, sitting on the floor with her knees pulled to her chest, crying so hard she could barely breathe. David froze for a moment, not wanting to intrude, but something in him knew he couldn't just walk past. He knelt down slowly and said gently, "Hey, it looks like the world's a bit heavy right now, huh?" The girl sniffled, trying to hide her face. "Go away. I don't want anyone to see me like this." Instead of leaving, David reached into his pocket. From his cart, he pulled out a tiny plastic bottle, Bubbles. It was something he always kept for Lila whenever her breathing grew tight or when sadness overwhelmed her. He opened the cap, dipped the wand, and with a soft blow, a stream of shimmering bubbles floated through the hallway. The girl blinked through her tears as the little orbs drifted around her, catching the light, reflecting colors. David smiled softly. "When my daughter feels like the world's too much, we blow bubbles. They remind us that even heavy air can turn into something light and beautiful." The girl reached out hesitantly, popping one with her finger. For the first time that night, a faint giggle slipped through her sobs. What David didn't realize, Isabella had rushed to the school after getting a call that her daughter, Sophia, had locked herself in the restroom, overwhelmed by anxiety. She had been preparing for another high-profile event, another meeting, another headline, but she had missed the pain right in her own daughter's eyes. When she arrived, she expected to find teachers or staff struggling to console Sophia. Instead, she found a janitor, on his knees in a dusty hallway, blowing bubbles like it was the most important job in the world. Isabella stayed hidden for a moment, tears stinging her eyes. She, a woman who could buy anything, build anything, control entire industries, couldn't calm her daughter the way this man just did. Finally, she stepped forward. Sophia looked up and ran into her mother's arms. Isabella held her tight, whispering apologies. Then her gaze shifted to David. "Thank you," she said quietly, her voice breaking. David shook his head humbly. "No thanks needed. Sometimes kids just need someone to remind them they're safe." Isabella studied him. There was something different about this man, the gentleness in his voice, the patience in his eyes. She realized he wasn't just comforting Sophia. He was giving her something she hadn't felt in years, genuine presence. The next day, Isabella returned to the school, not as the billionaire CEO, but as a mother. She asked David to join her for coffee, and for the first time, he shared his story, a widower, raising his daughter alone, barely making ends meet. Isabella listened, and something shifted inside her. This wasn't about charity. This was about learning what truly mattered. Weeks later, Isabella made a bold decision. She funded a school wellness program inspired by David's simple act of kindness, creating safe spaces for kids struggling silently. And she hired David, not as a janitor, but as a mentor for children in crisis. David never asked for recognition. He only wanted to be a good father. But in the process, he changed a little girl's life, and reminded a billionaire that money can buy comfort, but compassion heals hearts.